Hey, what's up everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the what's next on Nick Ball, the newly crowned WBA Featherweight Champion of the world, following his upset 12-round split decision victory over Raymond Ford as he handed Ford his first loss on the June 1st 5 versus 5 card. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So, this fight was, it was a really good win for Nick Ball, especially following the tough draw that he had with Ray Vargas. You know, there was a lot of people that thought Nick Ball deserved to win that fight against Vargas. He got outworked early and then closed the fight strong. And to an extent, that's the same thing that happened here, except this time there weren't any knockdowns. So you would figure it might not work his way again. But no, this time the judges saw him as a split decision winner, and he's now the WBA champion. Now, Raymond Ford said he would try, he's moving up to 130 and he wants to try to get Nick Ball to come up for a rematch, but Nick Ball's the WBA champion. Nick Ball, I highly doubt, is going to win a title in his natural weight class and then want to move up and drop his belt, or move up for a rematch that, I don't think a lot of people are clamoring for. So I'm leaning towards that being almost for sure not going to happen for Nick Ball. So to move up to 130 and fight Raymond Ford. Now let's take a look at the rest of the guys in the top 10 at 126 pounds. Well, at least my top 10 from the beginning of the year, and go from there. We start with IBF champion Luis Alberto Lopez. Well, with Nick Ball being with Queensbury, which is Frank Warren, that they have ties to Top Rank and could fight on a Top Rank card. So I really could see this fight being a possibility. Luis Alberto Lopez in his last fight in March defeated his mandatory challenger. So technically, he's one up on his on his mandatory. He's got his mandatory out of the way in Rhea Abe. So unification, if the WBA were to allow it for Nick Ball, this one could really happen, and this will be a good fight. I think it'll be an all-action fight right here, and I think the possibility of this one going down is definitely on the table. Then a showdown, an all-UK showdown with Lee Wood, the former WBA champion. Lee Wood is moving to hasn't debuted at 130, but for all intents and purposes, it looks like him and Josh Warrington are closing in on a deal for a rematch at 130, though. So I don't think a fight with Nick Ball is on the table. Then there's WBC interim champion Brandon Figueroa, who just returned and got a knockout win over Jesse Magdaleno. I just heard that the WBC is ordering Brandon Figueroa and Ray Vargas to finally fight for the WBC title next. So a showdown with Figueroa is likely going to happen next for Nick Ball. Then former WBA champion Mauricio Lara. I don't see this one because Lara is competing at 130 now, so I doubt he moves back down to 126 for a fight with Ball. Then you got WBC champion Ray Vargas. Would love to see this unification bout, but Vargas has been mandated to fight Figueroa next. So a rematch, not likely unless they could get the WBC to grant an exception so these two guys could settle the score later this year. That'd be the only way I could see that, but I'm not sure the WBC would do that. Then you got Josh Warrington in an all-UK battle. Warrington, as I said, is returning, is likely moving to 130 and closing in on a deal with Lee Wood in a rematch from their featherweight title fight that happened last year. Then you got WBO champion Rafael Espinosa. This one does have some legs to it, and the reason being is I think Lee would. I mean, I think Nick Ball would probably look at Luis Alberto Lopez and Espinosa. Espinosa is fighting Sergio Sanchez next on June 21st. If he beats him, which most feel that he will, this one could happen. Now, I kind of feel like this is a bad matchup because Espinosa is so tall. I think he's like 6'1" to 6'2". I could see him potentially going after, you know, like the Top Rank and Frank Warren working together to make a unification bout here because they work together. But man, with Nick Ball only being 5'2", that's a tough, literally a tall order to deal with right there. And I'm not sure that's the best matchup for him. So I think it's possible because the promoters work together. But I think it's right now I'm on the less than 50% side just because it might be a bad matchup for Nick Ball. But you never know because Espinosa's a guy that throws a lot of punches. So we'll see what the interest is in there if Espinosa gets by Sanchez on June 21st. Then you got Robeisy Ramirez, which this is a possibility because Ramirez is with Top Rank and Top Rank and Frank Warren work together. I could see this one. I'm not sure. I really think Top Rank might send Nick Ball in the direction of Luis Alberto Lopez and try to potentially get a rematch with Ramirez and what's in Espinosa here for later in the year. But we'll see. I mean, again, the possibility's there just simply because the promoters work together. And then you got Joet Gonzalez, which is another possibility because Gonzalez is with Top Rank. So Nick Ball, this could definitely be, you know, be in the cards. Joet Gonzalez has fought for titles many times, and he's kind of that souped up gatekeeper now. Like he's a guy that you really want to test yourself against because the guy, he's a real deal fighter. He brings it, you know. So not a bad matchup and definitely could be a possibility. Now, the last two options I want to talk about first would be a showdown, a mandatory fight with Stephen Fulton Jr. Stephen Fulton Jr. is Nick Ball's #1 ranked contender. The WBA could order this fight. Now, they had a mandatory fight earlier this year for the vacant belt between Odebek Kolmatov and Raymond Ford. Now, I'm not sure if the WBA works within like a calendar year for their belt, so maybe Nick Ball could defend the title one more time and then fight him, or if the WBA might order it just because Fulton is a former champ from 122, and they might say, hey, you know, let's make this fight happen. And then the final option would be Naoya Inoue, the reigning undisputed junior featherweight champ at 122. Inoue at some point is going to want to move up to 126. We know that. And if that happens, is Nick Ball the kind of guy he would fight? Well, Inoue has fought multiple British, you know, UK fighters. Nick Ball's undefeated. He brings it. He's 5'2", so this might be a perfect matchup for Inoue to move up and grab a belt at 122. You know, so I definitely think this one is an option if Inoue wants to move up. So at the end of it, what do I believe Nick Ball's gonna do? The truth is I have no idea, but I know he has a plethora of options. Like, he has so many fucking options, it's not fair to most fighters. Nick Ball, I do believe a mandatory against Stephen Fulton is a possibility. I believe a unification with Luis Alberto Lopez is also a possibility. Maybe even Rafael Espinosa. But I really think in terms of unification at 126, I think the WBA, I think Top Rank and Queensberry might lean more towards Lopez and Ball fighting, and then Espinosa and Ramirez fighting in a rematch. That way all their guys get, you know, a good fight next and an interesting fight next. And then there's the outside option of Joet Gonzalez, just in case one of those fights for some reason aren't possible. And then finally, the big one is Naoya Inoue moving up for you know, a showdown. So Nick Ball, there is a ton of options depending on who really wants to fight, you know. And I'm really interested in seeing, because Nick Ball has made a great account of himself 2 fights in a row now on Turki Al-Ashik's card. So Turki Al-Ashik might pay a shit ton of money to get these guys to come over and somebody to fight Nick Ball, whether it's unification with Lopez, whether it's you know, Ramirez or Espinosa or Joet Gonzalez or Naoya Inoue. I really think there's a lot of options, and I'm not going to be surprised if he fights any of those guys, because he's really, again, made a great account of himself on 2 cards in a row. So we'll see what happens, but that's it. That's what I got. That's my what's next on newly crowned and undefeated featherweight champion Nick Ball, following his split decision victory over Ray Ford to capture the WBA featherweight title. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.